Bear Essentials podcast gives older bears a place to gather for real talk regarding topics and issues that they can relate to. Here at the Bear Essentials, we aren't just having conversations. We are looking to provide actionable intelligence through real-life experience and expertise of our guests. Our mission is to build a strong community that elevates and motivates people to go beyond their limiting beliefs by helping them realize that getting older is not an excuse to hibernate on their goals, but a reason to work harder.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Charles Wallace. Today's guest spent 12 years at the pinnacle of professional sport, having over 200 appearances in the Rugby Super League. World-renowned for his mental toughness, upon retiring, he went on to become an elite-level strength and conditioning coach. He then founded an international body transformation business that to date has helped over 1,000 clients. Now, he is co-founder of Next 45. Next 45, it looks to help men have the best part of their lives in the second part of their lives. So please, without further ado, let's jump into my interview with Jonny Grayshon. But first, a word from our sponsor. Wolfinger Consulting, experts who have achieved real results for their clients, including complying efficiently and successfully with overwhelming discovery orders, passing difficult third-party security audits, and deploying bleeding-edge technology platforms to control and preserve corporate information. Let them show you what Wolfinger Consulting can do for you. Be sure to check out their webpage at wolfingerforensics.com. Hey, Jonny, how you doing today? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, mate. Thank you for having me on.
No, I really appreciate it. You got some interesting things going on over there that I thought would really resonate with the audience, and I was excited to have you on. Would you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Yeah, no props. Okay, so my name's Jonny Grayshon. I'm from Yorkshire in the UK. I'm an ex-professional rugby league player, which I played for 12 years before retiring in the top league, which is called Super League over here in England. And then I've retired and started up my own personal training business. So where I've got a personal training studio, and I also do online coaching as well, all over the world. That's pretty much it up to date. And then just started off more recently this new business, which I'm sure we'll talk about, the Next 45. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and Jonny, that's what I love about when I speak to guys like you. I love how humble you guys are when you say that's about it. And I like you kind of just go over the fact, yeah, I was a ex-professional rugby league, super league. Now I know my neck of the woods over here in the States, I don't think rugby is as popular or well known, but I mean, obviously you achieved levels in an athletic endeavor that only a lot of people only dream of. So I'll ask, growing up, were you always athletic? Was that kind of a dream of yours to play professional rugby?
So I started playing rugby probably about 8 years old. My older brother was playing slightly before me, and my dad was a professional as well. So he just naturally got us involved. And where I'm from in Yorkshire, it's like the middle of the country is so like from east to west in that middle band across the UK is a really big rugby league community. So so it's everywhere. So it was just like a natural thing to do, really. And then once I started progressing through my early teens, I was playing like representative for my county and town and country. Toured Australia with the English team, and and then it would just seem like a natural progression. Then you go, scouts come down and they're watching you and stuff, and I ended up signing professional just before I left school. So back then it was in between like leaving school and starting college. So I don't know if the age differences are slightly the ages are slightly different in the UK and the US, but basically when I was about 15, 16, I got my professional contract. And then by 19, I was a regular first team player. So, and then it just went from there.
Yeah, now, so obviously it's in your family. When you're playing, was always curious about this because it seems maybe it's a little different over there. As far as being a professional athlete over in the UK, does that come with some of the challenges I see over here? I've had a few athletes on the show over here in the United States, but how is that over there? Is it, does that fame become a bit of an issue? Is it hard to get around? What's that like over in the UK as far as being a professional athlete?
Well, regarding my sport, which is rugby league, it is a big sport, a big popular sport as a nation. Rugby union is far more popular. So, for anyone that doesn't understand, it's like comparing basketball and netball. It's very similar but very different. So. And as I said before, rugby league is more localized around the north, the middle of the country. So anyone kind of to the south and up to Scotland and down to London, they're not really interested in rugby league. So in terms of fame, no, you're not famous. Maybe walking around your hometown, and that kind of thing. I might have been spotted, a handful of times for a signature or this kind of thing. But it's not like so our national sport is football, is soccer. So it's nothing compared to that level. So, but I think that's a nice thing because what you often find is the rugby league community, even though they are professional sports athletes, it's from a working class background, the origin of the sport. And it was played by a lot of miners and working class people, and that feeling and kind of vibe is still present in the sport now. So it's very humble, just honest, just normal guys, just doing something they enjoy. There's nothing flash about it, and that's one of the things I love because it makes the community, like the rugby league community, really tight because everyone's on the same wavelength,
Yeah, well, I can appreciate the whole working class background. I mean, where I'm from in the States, in my part of Philadelphia, it's grew up that way, definitely, working class. So I definitely get that vibe. So Johnny, I know when I talk to some of the athletes, and I always like to ask them about this, obviously there's a physical component, a skill you have to be good at. I want to talk a little bit about the mindset, like mental toughness. How much of a role does that play in making it as far as you did in the sport?
Yeah, massively. I mean, there's just like not just sport but in everything, the mind controls the body, right? So that was a big thing that I struggled with throughout my career in terms of like consistency or self-doubt and this kind of thing. So the physical part of it was not really an issue. You were just up there with everyone else, and the skill part of it was fine as well. It's your own battles you've got going on in your head. Maybe you've not been great the week before, so you've got the pressure of performing again, or getting back on track with your performance. The coaches are looking at specific stats and specific things that they need you to do. So you're always, the analysis of the sport, which possibly spectators don't always appreciate, and the detail that goes into, you ran here and you needed to be, 5 meters away, further over type thing, to set up a play, or there's a lot of detail that goes into it. And I suppose in anything we do, that self-doubt and self-sabotage thing can set in, and that's it's not a good place to be once you allow that to happen. So yeah, you've got to be, just being positive, I suppose, and I think self-talk is really important and undervalued, and people don't do it enough.
Yeah, I'm glad. And that's why I asked the question, because I think that, and I think especially for men, we have probably more issues with that, and that self-doubt sometimes, and the way we speak to ourselves, or the way we'll open up and speak to other men. So I like to always, when I have somebody like you who played a professional sport, I think it shows men in general that, everybody goes through this. It's not, it's nothing different. It doesn't matter the level. We're all having our own type of self-doubt sometimes. So thanks for talking through that. Jonny, when you say you play professional, was that your only source of income? Were you truly just professional athlete, or were you doing anything else outside of that?
No, just professional. So we're full timers in Super League, which is the highest division you can play in. And the money's, I mean, the money's not. It's not going to, you can't retire after you've finished playing rugby league. It's I think at the time, just for anyone that doesn't realise, you might get the average wage might be this. This is going to sound ridiculous compared to American sport. The average wage might be, I want to say, maybe 80,000 English pounds a year. So it's more than the average wage, but it's not, it's not like you'd expect from high level sport. But it was nice to earn money doing something that you loved, but you were doing it because you loved the sport, and it was a great lifestyle, and you were doing your hobby that you loved, and then to get paid for it was even better. Some of the guys studied in the free time towards the back end of the career, because they knew the bodies were going to eventually break down and they had to go into something else. So that's what I started to do towards the back end of my career. But at the start and the middle of my career, through my 20s, I was all about maximizing my performance and success in that one sport. So I didn't want distractions with studying for this or that or anything else. It was just all about, being the best I could at that particular time.
So great segue. That's the next thing I want to talk to you about. At what age, and when do you start to think about, hey, can't keep doing this forever, need to start thinking about what's next, basically? When does that realization start to happen?
So I had like mixed feelings towards the end of my career, because you were, at the back of your mind, you were thinking that your body's not going to last forever, and the small silly injuries that shouldn't really happen start to creep in. Like you just randomly pull a muscle jogging down the pitch for no reason, or annoying little things like this. They kind of start to happen a little bit more frequently, or too frequently. And then I also was looking at comparing myself to older teammates who were hanging on because they just loved the sport and they loved what they were doing, but the bodies were absolutely broken. Their elbows don't work, the knees don't work. They've got, they're like Frankenstein put back together. But they can't kneel down. They can't, they're in the physio room before the game, getting strapped together and injected and painkillers, and I didn't see the trade-off wasn't worth it for me, especially as I got towards the end of my career. My love for the sport was kind of dwindling a little bit. So and at the same time, I'd had my children as well. So my two children was very young. So I suppose I got this little bit of a shift in kind of life goals and mindset and stuff. And I almost felt like I was ready to move on to the next kind of chapter, which was when I was about 30. And then what was kind of helping me weigh up my decision making for whether I was going to retire or not. The current team that I was playing at, I think we lost 6 games in 3 years. So we were like the best team for a long time, and we'd won a lot of trophies, a lot of finals, and we'd had a lot of success. And I was thinking, why either finish now on a high. My body still works. I always enjoyed the training side of it, and the physical side of it. So I can still train, I can still exercise. I can still play with my kids without needing to stretch for 20 minutes. It's not quite the case now, but we play a game of TIG and it's like I need a 30-minute rub down before we get out on the park. So there was all these things going on in my head, and at the time as well, I'd started to study like the older players. I'd caught them up. And then I suppose with that as well, the younger players were coming through the ranks and joining the team where I was. And they're, the young guys with the young mentality of playing the sport, going out drinking, doing the social things that, everyone did at that time, at that age. And I was like over that. I was, like I said, I was mentally, I was like moving on. So it would just seem like a real natural progression to like say, okay, I'm done. I've had a really good career and enjoyed it and learned a lot. And now I'm ready to move on. That was kind of how it all went.
So as it happens, and I know what you're doing now, did you transition right from rugby into the fitness space, personal training space? Did you go right from rugby to that?
Yeah, because the rugby league have like a body of support who offer legal support and education and other things. So as part of that, you could choose to study at the club where you played. They would have external education come in, and you choose what you want to learn, and it'd be like being back at college. Mm. So I naturally went into the personal training side of it, and the strength and conditioning and stuff, and then I got qualified there, and naturally just started working at a local gym now and again, whilst I was kind of finishing my last season of my contract, and just started to build up a little bit of a client base from there.
Well, that's really interesting to me, what you just mentioned about how they have and I think it's great that they had the opportunities for you to study and to learn other things. And it sounds like a great support system. So is your client base, now I'll start to talk a little bit more about fitness in general. Your client base, does it vary in age, or are you focused on a specific age, or doesn't matter?
So now, so I've got my studio, which is my in-person training, and I'd say the average age there is probably 40, early 40s as an average age. All similar type of people, young families, either own a company, or the partner runs a big company, or they've got quite a full-on stressful job. So that's kind of like the standard client that I work with in my studio. When I originally set up the online coaching, which was about 5 years ago, that was kind of designed to be like a cheaper option, a 12-week kind of real quick blitz of education, support, and aggressive nutrition, and to get in the best shape possible. So when that originally started, it naturally attracted younger guys because they just wanted to get in, come in, get like a 6-pack for the summer holiday. And so in 12 weeks, done, go. And it was perfect for that. Very successful. But as time's gone on, maybe it's the slightly different use of language that I'm about now, or just naturally, I'm going round in circles a little bit here, but the online attracts the majority of the signups from online is from referrals. So depending on who's in the program, similar people to those will obviously come on board, like their friends and family and things. So before, when it was young guys, it was all young guys. But as a kind of natural progression, I started to train slightly older people, in the late 30s and mid 40s. So now it's kind of the online and my studio are very similar clientele.
And I just love the fact that you're saying, when you say older people, 30s and 40s, I'm sitting here at 51 and it makes me feel even older.
Well, yeah, I often get pulled up on that one. It's because in my head, in terms of fitness and strength and the body and recovery, like, I mean, I'm 40, so I'm not saying I'm not in that category, because I am. I'd say 35 years and up is getting old in terms of the gym, not in life. Mainly because of recovery and like for men, testosterone levels start to decrease. And so when I say old, I'm not being offensive to anyone that's older than 40,
No, I was only messing with you. And I'll be honest with you. I think, and this might sound strange to you, man, like I wish at 35 somebody might have actually said to me a little more forcefully, "You're getting old," right? Like, because back then I'm personally, I was a mess during those years, right? I kind of, now I look back, I go, you know what? I wish maybe somebody would have been more in my face about it a little bit, and I could have come in touch with my own reality a little bit sooner, basically. So I do get what you're saying. And when you were telling the story about, I was thinking of those days, even with my own kids, just, getting up off the couch or on the floor and picking them up, hurting my back, or pulling a hammy, walking from the living room to the dining room, So,
but just on that though, so, you mentioned that nobody said anything to you. So when I know you mentioned before you were carrying more weight, were you more out of shape back then? Was that when you were bigger, when you were 35?
So it was probably progressive, man. From my mid 30s to my mid to late 40s, I was always on that obese spectrum, I'll say.
Right.
It was 47 when I finally, that was my heaviest. That was it. I was 267 pounds at 5'5", and I wasn't much of a life, man. I couldn't do much of anything. So that's another reason I want to I love having guys like you on, because I think obviously it's you're making a livelihood from it, but I think you're really helping a lot of people, and it's something that's needed. And I work with a trainer myself. I tell people all the time that I love when I hear people say, "Oh my God, it's so expensive." I look now, just to tell you, when I get paid, first thing comes out of my paycheck, Johnny, it goes, my health and wellness fees are the first thing to come out for my wife and I. And I found it over the last few years that, you know what, it's not that expensive, and it's worth it, So
it's quite a typical, it's quite a common shift in mindset, is that when people do get to like 40 years old and slightly older, because like I said, the young guys are all about just looking, mega looking. They want the abs. They don't care about the health. They just want to look good in the Speedos around the pool in Ibiza, and that's it. And then as you get to, late 30s, early 40s, you see it in all clients. You can almost see the shift like in the head, and they really start to take the health more serious and the longevity, and they look at life a little bit differently. And like you said, those guys are going to be more willing to prioritize investing into the health and fitness.
And that leads into the next thing. So I noticed that one of the former guests I had on, Mike Bates, I noticed that you're hooked up with him now, and you're doing something that I think is really cool. And I want to talk a little more about and tell the audience more about. I'm not going to steal your thunder here. I'm going to let you introduce it here. What do you guys got going on over there?
So the issue is obviously a massive international issue on men's mental health, suicide, and everything that goes with it. And we're wanting to create, it's about time the conversation around men's health, men being more open, it needs to change, and men need to they need to change how they communicate to each other, communicate to the peers, the partners. And this new business is called Next 45. And it's all about making the second half of your life better than the first. So it's specifically for midlife men. And it's specifically to help with mindset, motivation, nutrition, exercise, mental health, physical health, relationships, anything and everything that we're all dealing with, that we can all be better at. And the way we see it is, if we can make better fathers, better partners, better leaders, better men, then that has a huge ripple effect on society, and it's just better for everyone involved. The partners at home are going to be happier, the children are going to be happier and more connected to the dads, the staff are going to have a better boss or leader. So it's like the elephant in the room. It's such a big issue and no one's dealing with it. So this is why we're doing it.
It's fantastic. I'm excited for you guys and what you're doing. I've seen some of the things, on social media that has been posted, some of the things you're planning and upcoming. And I just, not just for you guys, I hope that it takes off the way I think it will, because you just said it. It is absolutely, it's needed. And I think guys like you, like Mike, and I say this in a way, and I mean this as a compliment, I think when men see guys like you or a Mike Bates, I think it gives them a little more encouragement, because I would say that, look, we're all dealing with something, right? But I think you guys don't look the part sometimes, right? And I think it gives people motivation, and it makes them feel not alone, because they look at somebody like a former military man and Mike, a former pro athlete like yourself, and they go, you know what, these guys are talking about it. Why am I afraid to talk about it? So I think just that part alone, you guys are going to reach many, many men. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, although we there's a third guy who's involved with us called Joe Gaunt, who's a psychologist. And although we are, we've been successful in our own rights, in our own fields, we're just like everyone else. And I think that's why we feel we can help others, because we don't have any expectations, or there's no egos, or we're just trying to help guys just realize that. And that's the problem in it with the society, how guys, the society's making men think they're not allowed to speak up, because they're going to look soft or too toxic, or one of these things. And then when they finally do get the courage to say something to a friend if they're struggling, the friend immediately shuts it down, because and starts to take the mickey or call them soft, or man up, and So then they're like, they've been waiting, plucking up the courage for weeks to tell the friend they're struggling. And then straight away the friend's like, shut up. And they're like, it's crazy. It just needs to change.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great step with guys like you and what you're doing. Jonny, I want to end with this. Can you let's talk a little bit about and tell people where they can get in touch with you, where they can find out about your fitness, your personal training, and also Next 45.
Yeah, so it's all on LinkedIn, NXT45. So Next 45, that's on LinkedIn. Instagram, again, NXT45. That's the numbers 4 and 5. Or Jonny Grayshon on Instagram or LinkedIn. So yeah, just drop me a message. I'm open for a chat anytime.
Well, Jonny, I really appreciate this, and I'll make sure to add the links and things like that in the show notes. Make it easy for people to find you and find out more about Next 45. Listen, it's always a pleasure speaking with you guys. I enjoy it immensely, and I have a lot of respect for what you guys are doing, and I am always open invitation for you, for Mike, for all you ever want to jump on and promote something or talk about something. I'm here to help because I truly believe in what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate that.
Well, listen, thanks everyone for tuning in. This is Jonny Grayshon here today. Stop by. Please check them out. Check out Next 45. Like I said, and if for all the men watching, don't be shy. Don't be afraid to speak up. We all should. So take care, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.
This has been the Bear Essentials. Thanks for listening. And remember, never hibernate on your goals.